Welcome to Road and Bridge.
So I think mostly everybody that's here is here for the enterprise decision. So do you want, no, do you want to take that up first? Unless you have any
No,
objections to that, Lamb?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so we'll take up that item on the agenda first. This is for review of the written decisions, finding of fact, conclusions of law, and decision on appeal from the Planning and Zoning Commission decision by Dana and Darla Miller and Enterprise Canal Company. I am not going to read through this whole decision as it's 21 pages, so once the commissioners have made a decision, made a motion, and the final document is signed and printed, this will be mailed out to the applicants, and any members of the public that wish to receive a copy can request that through public records request. So I'm just going to read the decision, and then the commissioners have read through this. They can have discussion on what they want to do, and we'll go to that point. So section 6, the decision, which is page 19, just says, therefore, the BOCC hereby affirms the decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission and approves the proposed application subject to the following conditions. The applicant obtains all applicable county permits, obtains access approval from ITD if needed. The applicant obtains access approval from Bonneville County Public Works. The applicant must establish a plan for removal of the overburden off-site, which will be approved by the Bonneville County Public Works Director and Planning and Zoning Administrator. The applicant must provide an adequate buffer fence and landscaping plan following the gravel pit guidelines, which must be approved by the Planning and Zoning Administrator. The applicant must obtain all applicable state and federal permits and requirements, including from DEQ and Department of Lands. Applicants must adhere to 300-foot wide setback buffer from the adjacent Miller property for any basins. Applicant must develop a dust abatement plan if not already in place, which has been approved by DEQ, specifically in addressing watering of crush to mitigate dust and maintenance of access roads so that trucks entering and exiting do not create dust. If the aquifer recharge basin is not used for 2 consecutive years, the use approval expires and reapplication will be necessary. Applicant will work with the Millers regarding landscaping. If no agreement can be reached, then the landscaping plan approved by administrator will be deemed sufficient. Applicant will work with the Millers regarding their well, and if proved that said project has direct effect on the well, applicant will work with the Idaho Department of Water Resources to remedy said issues. Applicant's hours of trucking and mining operations will be Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Commissioners have any questions for me or any have?
I don't have any questions.
Well, I think all the parties involved for the amount of time and effort put into bringing this to what we feel is where it should be. And in view of the fact that this is establishing a pattern that will be followed elsewhere within the water management system, there's a lot of eyes that are looking to see how we come up with a solution to the issues that arise when we deal with these kind of problems. So I appreciate everyone's willingness to work together and the time that's been put forward doing this. Any other questions or comments?
Not for me.
And Chair would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept the proposed decision for appeal from the Planning and Zoning Commission decision relating to Enterprise Canal Company validation of an existing aquifer recharge basin.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sign.
Commissioners will sign the application and then it'll be provided by certificate of service to Enterprise Canal Company, Dana and Darla Miller and Parsons, Beal and Latimer. And then, like I said, if any of the people here in the public wish to receive a copy, we'd ask that you fill out a public records request on our website and we'll send that over to you. That's all that I have, Lance, so we can move on to your agenda items now.
Okay, the real short one. that we can-
Let's excuse anybody who was here just for that, but we'd like to. Thanks for the long walk here. We'll try and get security with this door here in the future. So it's a short walk.
Yeah, it's email. I'll go tell, yeah. You guys can continue. I'll go fill these guys in. So.
We do have to review and sign a conditional acceptance of Kitts Place subdivision. If you remember, Kitts Place subdivision is off of Harding Lane. It's just a little cul-de-sac. It's not very much to it.
Did you change the name?
What's that?
Did you change the name?
Raynard,
Yeah,
I believe is the name.
why don't you change the name? And I.
It has. Just accepting the improvements within the subdivision. It's privately maintained public right away.
It is privately maintained.
It is going to be privately maintained, yes.
Stop.
Yeah, ask me questions, go ahead.
Okay.
I make a motion that we accept the additional agreements with Kids Place subdivision as described in the.
Motion to,
I second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
The discussion, the next item on the agenda is about discussion of traffic study on Stoltenberg, but we do have a couple members of the public here. I don't know if you want to have them bring up something first before we talk about Stoltenberg.
Okay.
John, did you want
You
to
here
bring up
for
something?
entertainment or did you come to?
Yeah, so we had this issue of some trees getting cut off for
Did we discover who actually did the tree trimming?
Yes,
Yes.
it was. It
It
was
was you.
It was us, not
No,
me,
it was not.
not me personally, but yeah, it was us.
I sent Ashley the pictures. Ashley, I sent
Right.
you an email just now of the pictures. Sean, David sent me some pictures of how they trimmed it, why they trimmed it. It was a county, we did determine that. So,
They are in the right of way.
And
yeah, but I'll let David address it otherwise.
Yeah, they were drilling out into the curb. There's a picture in the truck parked, I can't get a pickup under it. So we obviously can't get our brooms under it
okay,
to sweep and maintain the roadways, so. Our subdivision crew did contact the landowner. And they were told to go ahead and do what they needed to do. So they trimmed the trees and they now look like that.
Yeah, okay,
So anyway. We did do that.
okay. So that was ordered by you guys, like,
So our subdivision crew are going through and trying to do street sweeping. And so they came to us with their trees blocking the right of way. And yeah, we did send them out to go trim up the trees to make sure that we can get street sweepers, snow plows next to the curb.
okay,
And that's a maintenance issue. Here's, I guess, another picture in Crow Creek subdivision. You can't see the stop sign. So there's a lot of these trees that are planted in the right of way strip or the finer strip there that need to be trimmed or possibly even removed so that we can see the stop and yield signs.
okay, yeah, I can understand that. So what other equipment is gonna be, I mean, these trees were cut way more than what they really needed to be for street sweepers.
Tree sweeper is about 12.5 feet tall.
So, yeah, these were cut vertically all the way up.
So we have pictures of how they were trimmed. And we did clean it up so that the street sweeper could get next to the curb.
I think it might be beneficial to step backward.
Okay, so are you gonna go through all subdivisions?
Again,
We're trying to.
yeah, John, I think it might be beneficial if we step back a ways on our responsibility and the history of trees along the right of way, trees in the right of way. And I remember after I came to office, actually, the subdivision had gone in and trees had been planted in that space between the sidewalks and curb. And those trees were all taken out by the county, which really upsets the folks because the developer put those trees in and
Yeah,
they're not wrong kind of trees, wrong space, because they're gonna grow in the right of way. And so was just going in and taking them all out without maybe having some discussion about it first, and warning people that the trees were about to get cut down if they'd spent a bunch of money planting a bunch of trees. Maybe that wasn't the right way to handle it.
yeah,
In this case, the trees weren't taken down, trees were just cut back, and the property owner was contacted before they did the tree trimming, which most of the utilities don't bother to do, they just go through and cut the trees back for their utilities. So if there's an approach that you would like to see different than us protecting the right of way and somebody moves in and you have a semi-moving van pull in, we have the responsibility to make sure that they're clean to the curb so that the semi can pull in and unload furniture. So this guy truly is legally the right of way. And if we should have maybe gone further than contacting the property owner, I don't know, we have address and contact information, probably HOAs in Bonneville County. But if that's a list that we should somehow start to compile so that we can approach the discussion that way. What are your suggestions?
Well, first of all, couple of things. Number one, we're expected, even though that is county property, we're expected to, make it look nice and maintain it. So we pay for the water, we pay to maintain it, so we should have some say also, the government does not own Bonneville County. The property owners own Bonneville County, and as property owners, from that perspective, we own that. We own the road, we own it all, we pay for it through all our taxes. We elect you to manage and serve. You hire them to do things, they work under your direction. But at the same time, we still are the owners of Bonneville County.
Well, that's very
That-
true,
that-
not to be argumentative, but we, as the citizens of Bonneville County, through our elected officials, have established the rules and guidelines by which our society will operate, that we then apply ourselves to as citizens operating within those guidelines. And this was done within those guidelines, so if we need to address the guidelines, then that's the direction I would see that discussion go.
Right. But from our perspective, especially, this is a 71-year-old lady who's single by herself, and she's, it's hard, they come in, can we trim your trees, for right away and whatnot? She said, okay, but she didn't expect for half of the tree to be gone. So, that's where the issue comes from. And everybody in the subdivision is up in arms about it because they don't want to get their trees slaughtered, like that one, like those were.
Well, and I think part of what you need to remember, Sean, is anything that's located within the county road right of way, the county can come remove at any time to do whatever we need to for necessary maintenance for the road. So when those homeowners elected to go plant those trees in the strip between the sidewalk and the roadway, they receive a document with their permit, knowing that that's within the county right of way, knowing that anything that's placed in there can be removed by the county, by a utility company who needs to run fiber that has the right to do that, any of that stuff. So I think it's just a better job of educating the homeowners to say, we know that if we put anything in here, it's at our own risk and liability. It's now not the county's responsibility to come in and say, hey, we need to do utility work. And we have to move all these trees and then we're expected to replace them all for the homeowners. No, that was known in the beginning. That's our area that we can come in and do work. So I would say honestly, it's probably a little more back on the HOA side of educating people to know, hey, when you put stuff in here, it can go away. Yes, you're paying for it, you're maintaining it, but you're choosing to what level that is, fully knowing that that isn't gonna be replaced if it needs to be moved.
We understand all of that. That is given, that's all known. However, we would prefer to have more involvement up front with things. And quite honestly, if we received a notice that we need to, get our trees back off of the curb to allow a street sweeper to come in, there's plenty of homeowners who would go out and do their own to allow a street sweeper to get to the curb.
Well,
And
it sounds like that was the
we would go
case.
just enough to let them get to the curb and just high enough to let them get. to the
Yeah,
curb.
but it sounds like that was the case. It sounds like she did receive notice. And she told them to go ahead and do the work, so.
Yeah, it was my understanding.
Yeah.
They
So-
went, they said, we need to trim your trees because of this. She said, okay, but then when they got done, when half of the tree is gone.
Yeah.
And most of it unnecessarily for what they needed. That's the issue. So I think it's in the approach.
No,
How it's done, and I think the communication.
I think they took what they needed to do to get the height for the sweeper and the truck and, you know, different equipment, I guess, is what.
Straight out.
Yeah, and I don't,
We would disagree with.
I don't disagree with you that we probably could do a better job in saying, hey, this is maybe what it looks like when it's done, so if you wanna do it on your own, but this is what we need, but I think it's gonna depend on each individual situation, and I know that Road and Bridge also does their best to have that communication, so.
I would go back to the kinds of trees that we plant in that strip, because it's not my first day in the barrel. And all of the time that I've spent working with city and county government, trees along right of ways have been an issue, whether they're power easements in alleys or power easements that go through fence lines or easements along roadways. And if we, the citizens, say, well, gee, we're gonna have a subdivision, we want trees along the roadway, but we can't have trees like the numbered streets that grow up and hang over the street. Okay, so we need to plant trees that will give us the visual block, but that are gonna grow tall and straight as opposed to branch out over the road. There's a variety of trees that do that. I'm not the one planning subdivisions to say, oh, if we plant this kind of tree, it'll have a visual block. It's less likely to have to get moved until you do a widening project or have to do a water project. But it's not gonna branch over the road. And then there's the whole unexpected side of things, and all of the trees in the Stonebrook subdivision and Cedar Ridge, right, are being replaced. This particular variety of elm that they're, whatever it is they put in there, is susceptible to a single bug that came from China and is working its way up from Utah that has 100% kill rate. So they either wait until the bug gets here and kills all the trees, or they start replacing them now so that all of them don't just die. And they planned those subdivisions to look like they look with the trees that they look like, but it was a mistake, and it cost a couple $1 million to fix. But
Is that information put out like on either a building permit or something when things were first developed? Austin?
It's included in a flyer that goes out with each
The type
permit,
of trees.
not the type of trees,
so that
but
comes to the land.
talking about what can and can't be placed in the road right of way goes out with every single building permit.
And that's in our standards also.
So they can or cannot put trees in there.
So right now, the road standards have certain trees that are listed in there that can be placed within there. It doesn't alleviate the ability of us to go trim those trees if we need to get equipment through.
Yeah.
But there is a list in our standards. I will tell you that almost 9 years ago, I asked for most of those trees to be removed from the standards. And at the time, the commissioners made the decision not to remove those trees from that landscaping strip that is supposed to be for snow storage.
So I'm pretty sure in our covenants, and I know in other subdivisions covenants, it specifies to plant 2 trees. In the most.
So because your covenants require them to do something that then is gonna put road and bridge in a difficult
I'm
situation.
pretty sure of that. I mean, this is beside the point. This is just in addition to all the things we're talking about. I just thought of that.
The HOAs do not have jurisdiction over the road.
And we don't approve covenants for HOAs.
Right.
Those have come up over
I
times where
understand that completely.
people get upset with their HOA and want us to go out and enforce the HOA rules because,
Yeah,
somebody's got their garbage cans stored along the road instead of behind their fence or whatever.
yeah.
Those are HOA rules.
You know, that's what I've heard from a few lot owners, that they didn't really want the trees, but the HOA required them to be there, so.
Okay, so going forward, what is your intent? To go through all these subdivisions?
Eventually, yeah. And there's a lot of them and we have a small subdivision crew, so it's gonna take a while, but
Okay, your landscape crews, are those the same guys as snowplow?
So our subdivision crew, they do snow plowing on the subdivisions, they do tree trimming, they do street sweeping. They work on the catch basins, the stormwater pipes. They're doing the work of the public works department inside the subdivision, so all of it.
Yeah, how many guys are there?
Right now, 3.
Okay, cause I met 2 of them when they were plowing in there one time.
Yeah, there's only 3 people right now.
Okay,
I think one solution is for the homeowners to remember they can get an arborist that can trim them to their standards, because if that were my tree, I would have wanted branches to be taken up higher rather than just sliced up. But the county, they don't have arborists, they have, snowplow guys. So, and same thing with your neighbor, if you're going over the fence, neighbor can just slice it right down the yard.
Fence line.
So if you don't have the right trees, probably getting an arborist there before the county is a better solution.
and so I think what we would like is some kind of notification before it happens so that we can be involved in the process. Is that too much?
The homeowners are nearly always notified when they're going through.
That day or ahead of time?
It may be,
time,
yeah,
usually.
usually it's a little bit in advance because they're out there working in different areas. So they usually try to give them some notice.
Unless it's a safety issue, like a stop sign, then they wouldn't be given as much notice, so.
Okay, so if trees are not really in the way for the street sweepers, or plow, are your plows bigger than, I've seen pickups and I've seen road graders.
Well, the road graders
Blades
are
they've got, they don't
13 and a
come
half
really
feet.
close enough to some of the trees.
Well, the road graders are very tall, and the snow plows with the trucks with the plows on them are also probably at least 12 and a half to 13 feet tall.
Okay, so if we're trimmed up to 13 feet tall, we're okay?
I'm gonna say no, I'm gonna say it has to be at least 18 feet, because if a semi comes in to unload somebody's furniture, that's what they have.
Semis are 13 feet.
well, and then it's gets stuck under 18-foot overpass on a weekly basis, so.
Where are you talking about?
G
Right here?
Street, yeah.
That's 14 feet. You're 14 feet on that overpass. That's regulation for DOT. I mean, it can't be higher than 13 feet. We don't have any equipment.
Then you look at the numbered streets and all the trees
You
are
know,
up
and I
that
actually-
high.
In reality, John, it's okay if a truck hits a branch or two and moves it, it's not a problem. For, well, a little bit, I mean, we've had plows in there twice at the most over the winter. We used to see a street sweeper once a year. This is a permanent thing, but they can easily go down the road and trees will move, the branches move.
We have tried that in certain areas, and we have broken windshields.
Mirrors.
And
Yeah. And it just turns into we try to accommodate things, and it ends up costing road and bridge more money in the long term.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just not convinced we really have to do this. That way, the way that's done on James Way. So I would prefer, in fact, I would be the point of contact for Green Valley. I'd be happy to call me, And I know those guys, I tipped them pretty good when they integrated plowing. So we've got a good relationship, and I'm 3 or 4 quarters that they call and talk, we go through, we can even take a quick drive, go through. See the ones we're gonna cut, the ones that are okay, and go from there.
So Sean, it's really hard for us to do a solution that just affects one group of neighbors. So is there an association of HOAs so that we know how to contact the 300+ HOAs in Bonneville County so that we can get this, we can put a program like this in place with all the HOAs? Is there?
There is
Are
not,
you-
but how many, what do you got, 75 subdivision?
No, probably more
We've
than
got
that.
way more than that. I mean, we're talking countywide, not just down in this area.
Well, you've got, you know, the more recent ones, you know, they're not grown up enough, but these trees actually are 11 years old. The oldest one.
I
The
think,
point is, it needs to be a unilateral solution, not a spot fix.
and I think the best, easiest solution in the case of Green Valley, Sean, is just when you have your HOA meeting or your way to communicate with everybody, you just need to let them know, hey, if your trees hang into the road right of way, and you can use what happened in this one as an
Well, if
example.
the trees overhang the curb, because all
Yeah,
of the
or-
trees are in the right.
Yeah, or overhang the curb, this is what's gonna happen, and if you want to trim your own trees. Then you need to do that prior to the county coming through here and approaching you on a 1-by-1 basis, so. This is the standard that's expected, if they overhang the curb, they need to be 14 feet high. Go take these to the standard. I think you can inform all your property owners without the county informing every property owner, right? Because
Right,
we're
well,
only
what I'm
gonna do it
saying
if we absolutely have to do something.
Yeah, and I think we've discussed this about Snowflake, we'd like to get a notice. And Dave, you guys got my number, they can have me call me, you can email me. Anyway, can you text me?
That is. You would think that, I mean, if it was just one person in the county, calling that one person to give them notice, hey, we're gonna be in your snow plowing. But that isn't possible countywide. We don't
I
have that
understand
ability.
that, I'm representing an entire subdivision,
Right.
that's one phone call.
But it's
for the
one
entire-
subdivision,
That's my offer to you.
but it's still the same thing, because if we notify you that we're getting in your subdivision, then the next time we turn around, we have to notify everybody's subdivision.
You
We
only
just-
have to notify those that come in and request it. You know, if you go through, Pocono, and nobody says anything,
Well, we can
what's the issue?
certainly post it on social media that we're going out to plow or we're going out to work neighborhoods. And post it on our webpage, and that more than satisfies the public notice side of things. To get public notice that we're starting this project and it's time, and we haven't done that. And we can do that, and that certainly hits a broader spectrum of folks. Because if the folks in those subdivisions, which I know my daughter's subdivision has a close Facebook page for their subdivision. And they have liked Bonneville County's page, so they get the notices from Bonneville County for their subdivision, when their stuff. So that is the direction that the world is certainly moving for information sharing.
You know, that would be outstanding, if we have a Facebook page,
Have you
I
liked our
don't think they're
Facebook page?
connected to receive notification.
Have you liked ours? So.
And I'll bring that up with them, make sure they know about it.
Because I think that's probably the most realistic approach. I don't know. Mike, do you have any brilliant ideas?
Well, you know, with the tree trimming, we deal with this all the time, city of Hammond, and we've got over 200, about 250 HOAs.
Yeah.
And our policy is we have no contact with them, just because we can't. You know, there's just no way to be able to contact every HOA. And so, the mayor council have been really consistent with that over the years. We don't notify HOAs, we don't try to notify them, they're on their own in terms of knowing what regulations are what the city. But in terms of street and tree trimming, we do have a policy where if there is a tree that's wrong tree in the wrong spot, or a tree that's problematic, that we have a notification process where we notify the homeowner first, and we have a door tag that we put on their door. And the door tag has our instructions on how to trim the tree themselves if they want to do so. It also has on it a period of time when the owner must trim their own trees. After that period of time, we will trim it. And we always tell them, you may not like how we trim it, but we will trim it if you don't. And so that typically works. I'd say about 7 times out of 10, the homeowner will want to trim their own tree. And occasionally you have a renter or somebody who doesn't care about the tree, and then we come and trim it. And when we do trim the tree, it looks like this one. And we'll trim it in a way that we don't have to come back for a long time. But that's generally our policy. It works pretty well. We also prohibit certain trees between the sidewalk and the right of way. Generally, the entire genus populus, that's cottonwoods, cottonwood trees, poplar trees, etc. The entire populus genus is not allowed. The entire genus of salix trees, that's willow trees, weeping willows, all types of willows, that's prohibited. But we also have trees that we want to see, and we have a list that we put out there, like honey locust, hackberry, some varieties of choke cherry are acceptable, and of course, all flowering fruit trees, Malus genus, Prunus genus, those are all acceptable within the right of way, because they're small, 12 to 15 feet max, and they're easy to prune.
Yeah.
So that's how we take it on. But we've been dealing with street trees for a long, long time. And what we don't want in Hammond is, and what we've really put a lot of effort into discouraging over the years, is when you have in some of the number street areas, we have, 60-foot tall trees. We just can't accommodate that. And we're never gonna be in a situation where we can pick up massive piles of leaves and sticks and stuff. And so in Hammond, we really try to keep the trees small and manageable.
Well, that's why, part of the reason why Alabama's property taxes are so stinking high, because of all the stuff they provide. So this comment about notification, I think that's,
It sounds like their letter is very similar to the one that we send out also.
okay, so was Gene Beebe given a
Sure.
notification with enough time to trim her own trees? Or it was the same day?
I don't know
I'm
for sure.
not positive on
I think
that.
it's the same day. From what I understand.
If you talk to the homeowner though, I mean, and they say, go do what you need to do. What does that mean? That means we go do what we need to do.
It might be
If the
beneficial
homeowner doesn't do it in time, but I think
contact the
I
homeowner.
think this is a
Give them
great,
written,
that's got a great
give them a written thing that
comment.
says,
Most of the time we have letters that go out.
this is, you have this much time to get it done, or
Give
we'll
them-
do it.
30 days, and if it's
Yeah.
not done, then we'll come in and do
I
it.
think that's
At no
I
expense
think
to
that's
the
a really
landowner.
responsible approach.
Now, John, you talked about putting that on the webpage as a public notice. You guys are doing it on an individual basis?
Just with individual property owner. And the reason is because we don't know who the HOA president is. We don't manage that information, so
So
it's
you
just,
go directly to the property owners individually, and that's all I think anybody can expect. Is that right there? But still.
Which is what they did, but that's what you don't like because of the way they did it, so we're trying to talk about a way that they can do that makes you happier, right?
Yeah.
So if they do that and they give them written notice and it says you have 30 days to do this, and we're gonna do this. Which is what Hammond's doing.
Yeah.
Does that satisfy you? Yeah, Micah.
the other thing I wanted to mention is we also have a law that is specific about damage to trees in the right of way. And basically it says that if city equipment in the course of regular operation damages a tree, it's not on this, it's on the property owner. And so we had to do that because occasionally our plows will hit a tree, or our street sweeper will catch a limb or something. And, so that's specific in code. If it's your tree in our right of way and we damage it, I'm sorry, but you won't pay that.
I like that better than trimming trees, actually, quite honestly. Let them know that the county's not gonna be responsible. I think that's a big point.
That already is in our standards. That already is part of it. That's part of it.
Okay,
And the problem I see with that is with these particular trees. If we went through with a front end loader and knocked them over. Then we just, is that a better solution? I don't think it is a better solution. But that's what you're saying, well,
Yeah,
just say that,
That's just not gonna happen, I don't think. I mean, these guys are good guys that work.
well, I know, but that's what I'm saying, we,
Well, I
You know,
I think we're getting close to this horse being dead and beaten a couple of times. I think we'll look at making some improvements in the notification that we provide, both electronically and in.
Let me just say one last thing.
Careful when I make a statement like that.
We've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
And we have a really. We had you come out to that meeting over this annexation issue and everything, and you came out. And everybody was they were all gonna hammer on you about snow plowing. And you stood up and you told everybody about the meetings they'd had, public meetings for certain things, and nobody showed up.
You show up and we appreciate it.
And I was just as guilty as anybody else. So what I decided to do, being with a general contractor, I own my schedule, I can schedule anything pretty much I want. I scheduled to come in here and, because I have friends everywhere, all three of you, and all three of you were friends. But what I've done is I've invested my time to build a relationship, to have a little bit of not priority, where somebody can text me, call me, email me, and let me know when they're coming into our world, our service. And let us know what's going on. We can post it, we can be ready, we won't have any surprises. When we get all these little old ladies in here, that we can help prepare, for this kind of stuff, because that they don't have anybody but us. They have anybody. That's all I'm asking is contact me.
I must have ticked them off because I didn't get invited back to the next year's.
Well, we got a new board, we got new people in charge.
Okay.
Next
Well,
one.
we appreciate your participation.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
All the communities, all our HOAs had as much interest in their neighborhood.
Oh, I do too, I wish they would.
We make our jobs much easier.
Yeah. Thank you very much, I'm going to 12 o'clock session.
Hey, have fun.
Good to see you.
Frankie, you got anything for us?
I do actually.
Thanks a bunch.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks. Okay, we'll be in touch.
I think, the next thing is, oh, okay, oh,
No, that's my canoe.
Come on up, Mike, and we can.
okay.
Yeah, here too.
So just wanted to hand this out for you all. You guys are something wonderful today.
Well,
We have-
hearings,
we have a hearing first. Forgive us.
So this is the new setup. Right, you guys won't be here for each of the groups.
No.
So I just wanted to familiarize you with this report. This is something that we maintain about every week. We get into this, and this is what we call our entitlement inventory report. A lot of you have already seen this, but just to walk you through how it works. The green side is everything that the city of Ammon has entitled, meaning it has a lot that someone could pull a building permit on. They could pull a building permit today on it. And so that's the green side that has an approved final plat. It does not include any subdivision that is more than 75% built out. And so when a subdivision has more than 75% of the lots, it comes off that green side. And so this gives you a really good snapshot of everything going on in the city of Ammon right now today. And at the top, there's an updated date on that. This one was updated May 1st. I checked with Heather in our planning office, and she confirmed that nothing has been changed. Nothing has changed since May 1st. On the right side is the pending subdivisions. And that one is anything that has some sort of an application with the city of Ammon. It could be a preliminary plat, and it could be, it could be a rezone application, it could be something like that along those lines. But that gives you an idea of what's coming. On the blue side, those lots are sometimes speculative, and so we don't know exactly how many's coming. But on the green side, those are the final plat lots, and you count all those numbers. At the bottom of that green table, there's a total of 2,304 entitled lots in the city of Hammond. That's buildable lots in Hammond. To the right of that, that's 174 lots that are under construction. That's what the building permit issue means. And then, just to the right of that, that's 843 lots that need ERUs. And ERU stands for equivalent residential unit. And that's not something that, Montgomery County needs to worry about very often, but that is that's the main term when talking about sewer permits. So one ERU equals one house. And a business, like a restaurant, requires multiple ERUs. And an ERU is just simply a unit of measurement that is specific to our treatment plant. And so in our treatment plant, the one we have in Shelley, that we share with Shelley in Montgomery County, Bingham County, one ERU is about 200 gallons of sewer water per day. And so that ERU, an ERU might be different depending on where you live in the country. But in our area, it's about 200 ERUs per day. Used to be 300 ERUs per day. When Lance was in the city of Ann, it was about 300. And it's gone down over time, primarily due to Ammon's metering, as people have used less water per day. And if you continue to use less water, it'll also drop. So that's how you read this graph. On the blue side at the bottom, there's the acres in play, 626 acres right now in some sort of planning and zoning or entitlement process, and about 1,300 units. If flagship homes ever comes back, which they will, you'll get another 640 acres added to that number, plus 2,500 to 3,000 units approximately on that blue side.
And where is that at, sorry?
When they came before, their application was east of 52nd Street and north of 21st Street. Great big farm out there, Steele family farm, and they purchased that farm. So they were at the URSID board meeting on Tuesday, so just yesterday, and they were requesting annexation into the sewer district for a couple other slices. They annexed the majority, over 600 acres into the sewer district several months ago, but they missed a few sections, real strips really, along the edges of their property that the surveyor, whoever is doing it, missed when they surveyed the property. So that's this. Would you guys like access to it? It's just a Google document, so it's just basically a web page. Anybody can access it anytime. Is it a?
Austin can
I
have
think
it.
you're all
Yeah.
ready.
You sent me the spreadsheet, but I don't know if I have the Google Doc form. Will you double check?
You bet. I'll add you to it. Lance?
Most of the time, I probably don't need access to it, but I may have you give access to David around
Yeah,
now.
yeah, appreciate
Yeah,
that.
it'd be nice to know what's pending, I guess, when I get to look forward to.
Commissioners, would you like access?
I would ask Austin. what it
In
is.
Austin, I have a Google documents, because when I have a question to you or to Austin, so
But thank you.
pretty
for
rare
bringing it.
occurrence. I do appreciate the update.
Yeah, and this is just a snapshot on what's going on in Hammond at any given time, so. Okay, anything else for me?
Enjoyed our lunch visit.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great. That was our first time having that many people in that room all at once, so.
I hadn't met any of the city council members, so that was nice.
Oh, that's great.
It's like Sid's avoiding us, but I'll attribute that to Carl.
Yeah.
He
I
was,
hadn't been to your new add-on. That's nice. Nice space.
thank you, yeah, we've been saving up for that for 30
Gonna
years.
say much needed for a long time, right?
Yeah. Paid for
And
that.
I will just say, it was the best work lunch we've had in a long time, so.
Oh, good. And it sounds like we've got another one scheduled. Right, Ashley?
We have a conflict, so we have to adjust.
I think that's okay because the mayor is gonna be out at that
Okay.
time. Yeah, he'll be on vacation, so he said to go ahead and go with it, if that worked for everybody else.
John has a meeting.
Well, it probably should.
Yeah, I'll get with you.
Anything else for me?
Thanks, appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Micah. Good to see you.
Be here.
Stoltenberg Lane. I sent the information to Ashley. Do you have any questions about it?
Interpret it for me. I read it all. I could see the peak times. I don't remember what the questions are about. Stoltenberg Lane.
Right?
Well, they want oiled road.
Yeah.
We gave them, Yeah. yeah, so we gave them a quote to turn it to an oiled road, which is a BST. Which is a lot less than an asphalt road, but it was still $400,000+. So we went and did a traffic count on it. There was 97 ADT, that's on the last page. Talks about, or second to the last page. There was 97 vehicles a day on that road. 13% of that was trucks. The 85th
Trucks as
percentile,
in multiple axle.
multiple axles, yeah.
So like, what does that mean?
Like
Well,
7 or 8 trucks.
it is bigger than a pickup.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So the 13%,
Amazon.
well, it could be.
Amazon.
So daily totals,
Run trucks up there, they were in the UPS.
in the far column, it has total trucks. On the first day, there was 12 trucks. The second day, there was 15 trucks. The third day, a Saturday, there was 2 trucks. And so it goes through and adds up the total number of multiple axle vehicles. The 85th percentile speed was 29.8 miles an hour. So
And what
people
is the speed limit there? My question.
are,
Is there one?
inside the Swan Valley, I think they've got it posted at 30. Outside the city limits, which right now, all of that road is in city limits, so it would be whatever Swan Valley has as a default. If it was our default, it would be 50 miles an hour, but people are not traveling that fast.
Okay. So what does this traffic study say to you?
Well, the traffic study, the last page of the information I sent you was the matrix, and it says that with the number of homes back there and the ATD, this would rank highest on our list of potential candidates to change from gravel to oil. That is without doing any traffic counts on 65th West. 65th West, if the traffic is at 200, which is the number that's in here, if it was, it would be ranked lower than Stoltenberg. If the traffic is 250 cars a day, it would rank higher than Stoltenberg. But we won't do a traffic count out there until after the bridges are open. And then we will do a traffic count out there.
And so do we know how much it was? How much it'll be to oil this road? We already,
We gave a quote to the city of Swan Valley a few years ago. That was, it's pretty close to $400,000.
Yes.
So is the BST different than, I mean, can you explain that to me? That,
A BST road is, it stands for bituminous surface treatment. And it's a heavy oil with chips, heavy oil chips, heavy oil chips. And so you end up with about 1.5 inches thick oil and gravel surface road that functions a lot like a paved road. It's just not a asphalt mat road.
so do you think, so did the numbers show that the asphalt mat road be better.
It's more expensive.
The asphalt mat road would be significantly more expensive.
Does the VST help with like the subwater and stuff that we're talking
No.
about? Okay.
So the number I gave to them was to rebuild and rebase Stoltenberg Lane and put some drainage in it to deal with the soft spots too. It was not just going off the top of the BSD.
Which last?
That was the question is, the mayor of Swan Valley was here talking to you. He wanted information about this. This is the information. I'm presenting it to you.
Have we shared it with Mayor Manwaring?
No, we haven't, because we told him 2 weeks ago we'd bring it back to you.
Has he ever said what their share could be? I know we talked about that a little bit in the meeting, but it sounded like their budget was pretty much.
He hasn't shared a number with me. I will tell you that, I sent some information to the commissioners about what we have
Like we've got
received from them.
$30,000 from them before,
Yeah,
so any contribution they can make on it.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
well, and the $30,000 is their whole street maintenance fund that they get from the state that's not theirs to begin with, so really.
Although, when was that? Because they do have some extra money because of that tax. I just don't know if it gets them very far.
Well, if they have extra money, I don't know what it is, because that
That
would
from the tourist tax that they were able to get. I don't know when that was put in and when it stops.
I have no idea how to find that out. That would have
He
to
was
be.
talking about.
Yeah, we probably need to ask him, because I would say if we're gonna do anything, and if they're collecting that tourist tax, we would say, well, we're gonna need a percentage of that to help cover the cost of what we're gonna do here for the next so many years while it's in place, but.
It sounds like it's renewed every so often and pretty frequently.
Yeah.
And not
But they have
Every
to
2
apply to
years,
get
I
it
think.
renewed.
But tourist tax is on services, right? So their revenue. Pretty minuscule.
I thought it was on some Airbnbs too.
Yeah, that's what we need to find out, is what they're actually getting from it, and if that can
It's supposed to be applied to
help us
Airbnbs,
all.
but only ones that are, well, Airbnb collects all of those taxes and distributes them, but I think they do that to the state. The state has to trickle them down. And they just passed that last year, and I think they're gonna see revenue for years. It's gonna take a year or two. When flow anyway.
I think it's safe to say they don't have very much money to get us for this project.
Yeah,
No, they told us how much they've given us.
30,000.
And sure.
Well, 30,000 a year. I mean, that's basically the last year was information I gave to you. So
Okay, well, we need to. So what do we need to do about it?
The mayor.
yeah, I think we need to.
take this, you can take this information to the mayor. I can send it to the mayor.
Take it to the bank.
I don't think that's where we're taking it.
Oh.
I think they're taking it to the bank.
Yeah.
I think we're the bank here.
We can-
How much? Do you know how much we have set aside for these kind of projects every year? Is there a certain amount that we
Nothing.
put in?
We have nothing set aside.
So
for this
we
kind
would
of
just be
project.
using it out of the. Have to take it out of reserves if we did. it, right?
Or out of a capital project that doesn't have allocation. And if you've seen my budget request, I have identified over $33 million of capital projects already.
Come on, you don't need that much allocation.
And how many?
The roads.
20.
29 homes is what I counted.
And. Half a dozen businesses.
No, I don't think I didn't count the ones at the end of Stoltenberg. The only businesses that I'm aware of are right there up by Highway 26, which that portion is already asphalt.
So when you say
We
this,
got to. VA Hall, right?
I think it was pretty close to the VA hall right there, yeah. And so the price that I gave him went from the end of the existing oil south.
So when you say it rises to the top of the priority list, what priority list are you talking about?
On that last page, the list,
Yes, I see
was
that.
that would be the list of potential candidates we have for VST application.
And that's throughout the county, or just
Yes.
up in Swan Valley?
That's throughout the county, the ones that we have had requests in the past to change from gravel to oil.
And it does make a substantial difference with folks that are there. All the time, using it, going all the time. That one I don't know so much about, I know. Palisades Creek was gravel for a dang long time, and there was a constant push to get it done pavement. And then the traffic study, like, oh, there's that many cars that go down that road.
Yeah, and we did that in 2016, that traffic count. And if you look at the score on that, the ranking was 326 points. Right now, Stoltenberg in today's count is 254 points. So Palisades Creek was a very high ranking road to get it done.
Extremely highly used. Of course, there's railhead access.
Yeah.
We've got our next.
Yeah. Is that it? Is that the end of it?